would have been fun.
I call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll read the district mission statement. In partnership with the communities, the mission of the Dilworth Boone and Felton School District is to educate individuals in an environment of trust and respect so they become self-directed, responsible, lifelong learners. Roll call. We've got everyone here except for Laura, and we've got Shannon Hunstead here, along with Brooke and Wayne and Eileen. So, any other visitors that we have? I think so. All right. So the first, we'll go on to number 4. This is a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Any changes to the agenda?
The only changes are under my superintendent report. E, instead of questions, I just wanted to put that MDE is going to visit us this week. So make sure I just got that finalized today. F was just the IGR is on Friday, the retreat. I think I shared that, but I just want to share that again with you guys. And then that's F, I'm sorry. And then G is just talk about real quick about the calendar that you have in front of you from Minnesota Farmers Union. And then E, F, G, H. H would be questions.
All right. Very good.
So otherwise it's the same.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Nicole. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Brittany. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to number 5, public comments and rebel recognition.
When I performed for the middle school on Friday, my days are getting mixed up, Friday, and then they had their competition Saturday, and I heard they got third.
You did a good job.
Yep.
Elementary school had a kindness retreat.
On Friday. too.
Yes, on
Yes.
Friday. My daughter came home super excited about the opportunity. Was thrilled to spend some time around high school students. At that age, I think it's,
A big deal.
yeah.
For sure. Yep, so that was Friday, yep.
Anything else that anybody has? Speech is starting up, so lots of tournaments coming up next month.
Yep, and we have that huge elementary community tournament coming up this coming weekend. So 113 teams, something like that. So it'll be a crazy weekend coming up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it will be full force. All right.
And last week was paraprofessional week, correct?
it is, and we're celebrating it this week.
Okay, this week. So thank you to all the parents
Yes.
and support staff.
Yep.
Yeah, for that.
Yep, it was put on the calendar last summer, and then we found out, oh, we're off a week, and so we're celebrating this week. So I know they had a bunch of stuff here today. They had kind of a potluck over in the elementary today. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
All right, very good. Let's go on to 6.1. This is the DGF elementary report.
There you go.
This is all the fun. So I handed one out to everybody, so you should have a copy in front of you. If you have one in there. So, kind of a big deal. The first item there is kindergarten registrations. We've started that already, and we'll have kindergarten roundup on March 18th. We'll have a presentation in the gym with myself, Assistant Principal Junk, the kindergarten team, Nurse Kayla, Eileen, and Jamie will be there. And it's really just to introduce us and introduce the school, and go through routines and procedures, and then they take a walk around the building and meet the teachers, that kind of thing. We have, as of today, before I left, 39 registered kindergarten, which is wonderful in comparison to last year. I don't think we had any at this point last year, which was a weird year last year. I think typically by March 1st, we have about 60. We're on pace, I think. Maybe a little bit more on pace, so maybe, unless the word's out, hurry up and get registered. I don't know. But it's good news so far. I have reading curriculum down, and that's really an elementary school's focus for the most part. That's why I have it there. But we have grade level meetings every Tuesday and some are on Thursdays, and department meetings, and reading is always on the agenda. We've had a focus on that last year and this year. You can see the next item is letters training, and that's a training on really probably the simplest way to say it is basic skills reading. It's not really, but it's probably easiest to describe it as that. We started that last year. You can see last year we had 30 teachers and admin. We met weekly and monthly last year. Now this year we're doing it again. It's a two-year program to be trained in with letters. This year we have the rest of our staff, which is 12 teachers, and they're meeting on year 1 now. So most of us will be done this year, and the rest of them will finish next year. Early childhood is a 1-year program, and they're all finishing this year. Kindness retreat, yeah, that was I love what you did, because it's probably one of my, I know it is because I told some of the staff, it's one of my favorite days of the year. And it's the first time I've had that VGF in elementary, and I was excited to have it brought there. The middle school does it for 7th grade. It's a different theme. But seeing 4th graders' eyes when high school kids are lined up like it's a pep rally, or they're going through a tunnel when they open the doors, and it's single file, and all 109 kids are walking through, seniors that are and juniors that are cheering and rah-rah. It's probably the first 15 minutes is loud, so it's hard on some kids' ears. And adults. But there's serious, there's highs, there's lows, there's energy, there's all kinds of stuff. And now it's just to try to keep that going and keep that thing going with the kids in the grade. But nothing but positives from the kids that I heard and staff. Concordia College, we started a collaborative with them with all 3 sites just this last fall. And part of that, and we've done a few things at all 3 sites, but I have this on here because we have on Fridays through the end of March their math methods class, and it's not student teaching, but it's learning how to teach math in elementary schools, and those students are coming every Friday for 3 hours in our building, and it's under Lori Dweber, and she's one of their adjunct professors, and so she's doing that, and then the kids are getting her lessons, and then they're embedding and immersing into the classroom a little bit. Teacher evaluations. So what you do every year, if you're a non-tenured teacher, we do a minimum of 3 evals. So I have 2 of those done right now, and we'll start 2 weeks. We'll start the next round. So we'll have 3 of them done. Usually I try to get done by the end of February. And tenured teachers, they'll be done this week. I think I have 1 left. And those tenured teachers are on a rotation every 3 years. And again, paraprofessional week, if you flip the paper over, this is what we're doing this week in the elementary. High school and middle school are doing similar types of things, but trying to draw attention to them from all of our staff. And today was the big salad bar. Tomorrow's breakfast bonanza. So everybody kind of goes in the lounge, and we're all celebrating together. Food is always good. Not always for my body, but it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, curriculum discussions. We've been doing that all year. I talked about letters training, that's English language arts. Science has been a discussion this year. Technology is always ongoing. And when I say all these subjects, they're all K-12, not just elementary. A couple of things, the next 2 things. Started this last year. The principal's 3rd grade chess club, will start that in a couple weeks with the 3rd graders. And then we'll meet twice a week. And then principal, it's not food, principal's bagels tournaments. It's I don't know where they came up with the name, but it's bagels pica fermi. I don't know if they're Latin name words or what, but it's a problem solving math game. One of the classrooms do that for about 4 weeks. And then we have a tournament at the end. Upcoming planning topics, that we're starting right now is kindergarten planning. We're planning for next year already. Enrollment and class list planning, staffing considerations for next year, Title I programming. This spring we have testing. Any end of the year events, we have a lot of those already scheduled. budget planning, community and parent involvement opportunities. The breakfast, for example, will have to come in too. One thing I forgot to put on there that I was thinking about on the way here, February is I Love to Read month, and so that's a huge month in elementary schools, and we have a kickoff next Monday morning at 8:30 for that. And lots of activities for all the young readers. Supposedly, well, the theme is about reading like a pirate, so if they get to their goal, they get to some, I don't know exactly, I'm not told all the details, but they're supposed to be able to get Principal John and myself off of a plank.
Where will you land?
So-
Enter at your own risk.
Yeah.
Walk the plank.
Any questions for me on this or anything else?
I got a couple or whatever. What is letters training? What is, I might have missed it, you might have said it.
Oh,
What does that entail?
so
What
it's
is it?
training on, really what it does is it's take a teacher back to their beginnings of learning how to teach reading. And it's, a lot of it's based on how the brain learns how to read. And in my time and most teachers' times, up until recent years, we've never learned that process about how the brain learns how to read. So that's kind of where it starts.
And then you talked about 39 being a good number being registered compared to last year, whatever. What's our expectation, or what's the gut feeling that we're going to get? Or
I want 120 at least.
Okay.
I don't know what Shannon wants, probably 150.
Yeah. We take them. No.
Average, we're probably about 120.
So do we have any idea before anybody registers or not?
It's sort of.
Yeah, so, Tracy has a number. They had 123 that had either contacted us or we've contacted for early childhood 4-year-olds. So there's 123 there. Now, how many of those and choices they make? So I think in my weekly update, I was optimistic based on what that data, because I looked through a whole spreadsheet. You know, I'm hoping we're thinking 110 to 120. If all 123 and other people come from another, neighboring town, then we're in better shape. But yeah, so that's our projection, I guess.
What's the class size this year?
94.
93 right now. 93. Just went to 93.
We'd have to add another teacher if we had one got that one.
Yep. Well, and so like our first grade last year, we had 135 kindergartners, and now we have 93. So we already had to shift a bunch last year, and some went with the first grade, and then that's kind of what Wayne's talking about. I already asked them last week as principal. I said we got to start looking at our staffing, and I said let's plan for 5 kindergarten for sure. Okay, maybe 6, and then who would it be, and what would that look like? So that's something they're
Couple
working
years ago,
on.
I told the staff, I was hopeful we'd be solid 6 sections all the way through. That's not happened. 5, 6, 7, 5.
We did have a second,
You know, so people are shuffling all the time.
unfortunately. Yeah. Good question.
Any other questions for Mr. LaFarge?
I do. The reading curriculum, we've had now 2 assessments with the new assessment. Are we showing growth in reading? I know we were
So,
having some challenges.
yep. So the fall to the winter, there's growth. And then I'm confident with the spring will be. What I really want to see is the impact on MCAs.
Mhm.
And we won't know that until spring and probably fall, the results come back.
Are the teachers finding it helpful, the new reading curriculum? And
So they were a little stressed last year, especially the ones that did the letters training. They saw a lot of reinforcement when they had the training and the new curriculum at the same time, compared to those that didn't have the training at the same time. They're feeling a lot more comfortable. They feel like the kids are well into the routines a whole lot more than last week, because it's totally different teaching style, learning style.
and then your math methods teachers, are they the same partner teachers every week?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
They're familiar with the teacher and the
Yeah.
students and stuff, so they
Yeah.
can build on that?
Yeah, they're the same. So they're taking a college course is what it is.
Yep.
And those, I think there's.
I didn't know if they were visiting like each grade level, so they were trying to teach a different math
No.
method to different levels, or
Actually, they're
familiar.
mostly just observing or working with.
And more of a support.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Any other questions for Wayne? All right, thank you very much, Mr. LaFarge.
All right, thank you much.
All right, we'll go on to 6.2, Eileen, transportation.
Mine is not as fun as yours.
Elementary's the
I know. Transportation is the people,
Yeah.
pull people off. That's my specialty. We applied for a school bus stop arm grant, which would provide us with some additional cameras in our buses. We were notified that we are going to receive part of the grant. We don't know exactly how much yet. We're waiting on the grant award amount. The individual that's in charge has been out sick. The original grant was like for $104,500, and the new system will give us 4 cameras interior, 2 cameras outside. We have one in the front of the bus on the stopper and one in the back, so you get it from both directions, which is a great deal. Justin Bogle, Chief Hunter Lawson, and SRO Val Killen was nice enough to write us letters of support, which was really kind of a bonus point. Johnson called me back and said, "Well, I'm impressed. You asked for 1, you gave us 3." So we're just lucky enough to be in the community, but we have enough people that can do that for us. Kelly Johnson, our Sergeant Kelly Johnson, began to work with us in the annual bus driving training with our type 3s and our CDLs in March. We've still got, I think, 4 bus evals left that I need to finish. We're in the process of updating our bus transportation program. Currently, it's not web-based, so if something happened off-site and we had to leave, there'd be no way of getting into our system to see who connected with what bus. So with the new system, it will be web-based. We can actually go anywhere to connect it and look everything up and get people going in the right direction. It's like about 8-week process to do it, so it should be fun and entertaining, I'm sure. I did this once before. It was a challenge. This time, at least, when you go through, some of the stuff looks familiar, so I'm feeling a little bit better. Especially transportation, we are experiencing major growth pains right now. We have like 35 kids that we are transporting. We have Pat that operates 2 runs. We have Tony and Barb that do 3 runs. And that's in about an hour and a half time to get the kids home. They're going over from South Fargo to Moorhead, Glendon, rural Glendon, Dilworth. It's tight, very, very tight. Barb is thinking about hanging up and going part-time, so she will be having a full-time driver position opening. I'm guessing soon. Doesn't really give us a date for that. She's been talking, so that's coming up. Going to be gearing up for spring sports, so that little activity bus will be busy. It is a lifesaver though. It helps get all these smaller groups in places without booking a bus and putting 9, 10 kids on a big bus and probably have to Holly when you can put them on the activity bus. So that's going to be going pretty quickly. We're looking into the possibility of adding stop finder 0 alerts onto our new busing program that we just purchased, which would mean that you could check to see where your bus is. It would be live times. Brittany could open it up and say, "Oh, there's my bus. It's 2 blocks away." You wouldn't have kids staying up like freezing. Buses and coming, you could always look to see where it's at. So we're looking into something like that. And be into the transportation for a little kindergarten roundup, which is always interesting because we have the parents that have no experience with busing, and so that's very, very time consuming. We are very popular. We have very long lines, very, very long lines. That's basically what's going on in transportation right now. Any questions? The issue or the growing pains with the sped busing, is it because we're short on vehicles or drivers or both? It's Just too many both. stops. We just have more kids than we probably ever had. And the other thing that are really spread out, like we have some homeless kids that we live in Motel 6 in Fargo, which is like complete out there. Something to tie somebody up for, Are we just using the vans? Yeah, we have 3 vans going. It's
So if
a
you'd like
lot.
to come after school and drive. hey.
Yeah,
We don't have that.
Yeah, I know.
That for,
Yeah,
I get it real quick, actually. it's not hard to get.
I will say this too, so I visited with Scott and Sarah and Eileen, last week, we talked about it. And we're gonna meet again and just, they're gonna just go through with the staff to make sure that, okay, Shannon still requires special transportation. Or he doesn't, where are we at? We're just gonna reevaluate. He said, obviously there's more and more added. We had quite a few kids this year that came in right when school started that have required it, which we weren't ready for. And then it's like, okay. And then back to what Eileen said, the routes are so much longer, so and we can't fit them all in, so people have to wait by the time they okay, what are we doing? So I know Wayne and Brittany meeting with Paris too on how we're gonna make sure that coverage is done. So after the discussion, we're hopefully gonna be able to say, hey, maybe we can cut back on some people that don't require it anymore. I'm not sure that's gonna be the case, we'll have to see. And if it isn't, it's one of the things we talked about, it's okay. What's tough in special ed transportation is you purchase a vehicle and then you lose some of those kids, and then this has happened to me in the past where no, you don't need the vehicle. But so unfortunately, right now, we're in these longer routes, it's a little bit more waiting time, but
We're making it.
we're making
We're
it,
making
so,
So
it's
what
gonna
would
be an
be,
evaluation for sure.
what would be in the ideal world where money and people are not an issue? What would be the solution? Like, is it?
Everybody
we need
can jump on
another-
their vehicle and go home and be done. You know what I
Like-
mean, though, so it'd be
Like
like,
another vehicle to pick up kids, so you're
Yeah.
not making several
Yes.
stops and runs.
right, and we need another driver,
Yeah.
obviously, for that too. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
The vehicle is probably easier to come by than the black.
Right now,
That
yes,
makes sense.
yeah.
That's always a challenge.
And the buses would not.
Well,
Be
the problem
helpful.
with the buses, you have to have a CDL because they're hauling two
Because
schools.
now it's a route.
So you can't use it, you have to have a regular bus.
So you have to regular.
Yeah, we do have
Sure.
one that has a regular CDL, but the problem is the cap's gone. We have no.
Sure.
So then
So then there's no backup.
there's no backup.
Yeah, we
No,
don't
I
have
was just
anybody else with a
curious. That
CDL,
makes
yeah.
sense. No.
No, it would be nice because then you could get 14 of them or so on there.
Right.
But.
And then in that
Bus
case, we
trips.
could have a pair ride with it,
Right,
just to make
right.
sure, but it could be, more efficient, but
The other thing
Things
is
to talk
too,
about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
thing is too, some of these are high needs children that probably do not do well without seatbelts or some kind of restraint, which there's no restraints in that way bus at all.
Can you add?
I think you
I think we
can.
can.
Do
yeah.
it. The zipper harness and stuff.
I would think
And
you could.
folks even you can add to, yeah. But there's been a lot of discussion in the last couple of weeks, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know with our growing numbers, it was just curious.
If we added geolocation to our buses, would that be behind like login credentials or would that be public facing?
If you be able to, any parent would be able to log in and see exactly where their child is.
So it'd be under parent view or something where it would be like
I'm
Joe
thinking-
Citizen who doesn't have a DGF student wouldn't
be
have
able to see
access
it.
to that.
Yeah, no, I would believe it would just be strictly, it's tied in with our busing program, so you would have to be doing on a bus in order to be.
How many buses do we own?
How many do we own? We own one bus. How many do we
That's
run?
small bus, the big ones, yeah.
So that,
We run, we totally have 17 buses that we run, but we only own one ourselves.
so then the grant for the $100 and some thousand, so then we'd be retrofitting other people's buses to.
Yeah, that's in their contract. We're responsible for providing radios for them and cameras for them.
And then last question, you know, how is it common to people that are bringing kids to Fargo from that go to school? I mean, is that a common practice that we're
Yeah.
sending them across the state or to another state?
Yes, when they're homeless, we go wherever they're at. We've been to Holly, we've been up to Buffalo State Park, picking up people that are living in camps.
Yeah, it's required by the
We're
state.
required.
To pick up somebody in South Fargo?
That might be their only housing option.
For the homeless.
So you can't, pull somebody from district just because they become homeless and there's no, community resources for them in our district. So they have to go wherever their options.
It doesn't always mean it's there, that's where their location is, you're required to relocate it.
It's a big strength.
It is,
Makes it
it's,
really.
Why don't they go to Fargo? I don't,
Well, because they might find a housing insecurity, you don't wanna also uproot them from their stability in their school and their home, their friends and their support network. If you take somebody who becomes, homeless and you take them out of every support network they have, then their challenges become exponential, not fixable necessarily, so, because they might find housing again in the district where their home district is.
And chances are that's not a permanent.
No.
Yeah,
Some of them end up
usually
being
it's a
with us
temporary
eventually.
deal.
Most of them end up, well, they end up being in like a Moorhead or something, but again, a lot closer than.
Well, the biggest challenge right now for us is that our homeless population is very dispersed because our shelters are completely just abandoned. We've lost several shelters to the Churches United funding concerns. And they're not letting additional families and things into those locations. And the ones that we do have are full. So then they're being placed in hotels.
It's definitely a regional stressor right now, sure. Which affects us, right?
It affects you, but,
Any other questions for Eileen?
Thank you. Eileen.
Thank you, Eileen. All right, we'll go on to 6.3. This is board committee report. We'll start with the DLT recap, district leadership.
Oh, and Laura's not here.
Oh, Laura's not here.
So I was there, and I did my presentation. So maybe what we'll do is I'm gonna go through the presentation a little bit during my final budget information, just to kind of, so the slideshow, I'm gonna go super fast with you because you don't need to see the whole thing. This is what, the presentation I'm gonna show you is the exact same one I went through with DLT. And so that's what we talked about. And if you have questions after that, you can ask.
Right, we're going to MSBA conference recap. And I guess, we all went to different seminars at the conference. We had two really dynamic speakers. One that was talking about the importance of seeing kids. The other one was really a principal that had turned around a lot of different tough schools. And, tour de force, I would say, as far as his involvement with the school. As far as things that are specific to the state, I did go to a conference on state initiatives with the legislature. I'd say the legislature meeting. I don't think they're quite meeting yet, but a lot of turmoil down there. But some of the different things that they're looking at is really surrounding budget and getting more money to the schools, just because there's a recognition, at least by the Minnesota State School Board Association, that things are tough for schools across the state right now. So a lot of focus on that. One of those things is the LOR ability to catch that dollar amount up to where it was with inflation. It started here with Shannon, really. So that is one of their legislative items. So, yeah, that's what I have. I don't know if anybody else has anything that they'd like to add. I know just a lot of good sessions.
As a new board member, I'll say it was very beneficial just to be interacting with other board members from across the state, and just the networking and the learning and spending the time with the board, some of the board members here or whatever. It was good information.
Yeah, that's always the best part, is just learn from other board members and get to know everything.
I was drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, lots of information.
It doesn't stop. So. All right, I'll go on to 6.4, the superintendent report.
Yeah, so excuse me, guys, I'll stand by and and I'll just kind of reiterate probably what Troy and David both just said about MSBA, and for me as a superintendent, also, drinking from a fire hose for you guys, but the questions you're asking me, so often, because I've been in education for 30 whatever years, you just go, well, this is what we do, right? And you guys are going, okay, I've never heard that one before. I've never heard that term. So what are you talking about? And so it's good for me too to pause, slow down, and go, okay, hey, good question. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. So it also, for me as your superintendent, with new board members, it's just so you get to know me a little bit, right? I'm Shannon Huntston, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and I'm a superintendent. So that's important for me. So when we talk about sometimes tough issues or things, you kind of have an idea where I come from, good, bad, or whatever. So this is my presentation to the district leadership team. And on January is when we're finalizing our budget, which we are doing tonight. I told them in January that's going to be my meeting for them. So there's parents in there, there's students in there, there's teachers in there, there's admin. It's a packed house down in the community room. It was a very good meeting. Laura's not here, but she would say it was fantastic. Anyway, so I'm just going to kind of go through it quick just because for respect of time. This is just our district. Last number was in 2023. We have 6,769 people in our demographic in our school district. Obviously, it's 2025. If you look from 2020 to 20, in that 3-year period, it's about 200 people, not quite. I would guess it's similar, just on growth from what we have. That's people, so this is all of our taxpayers that help support our school. This slide is only to show you that public schools are shrinking, private and homeschools are growing. So this number is a year old because the new numbers aren't up yet, but it's just, and I can get this. This is the slideshow I shared with you on my weekly updates. You have this too. So this is just us since 2004, Dilworth DGF Public School. The one thing and you see on top, I put since 2016 to 2024, we're down 103 students. At our current rate, that's also in a slide coming up at 92.23. That's close to $1 million over that time period. Now, it wasn't always 92.23, so it was a little less than that. I'm just showing you in today's numbers, that's what it would be, because it's not exactly that. So I don't want any confusion there.
Yeah, and one of the things I thought was interesting about that is if you look at 2014, 2013, that period, sort of a glut of
Right in here.
elementary kids.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, look
high
at
school,
kindergarten.
you
170.
have one class that had over 100 kids, and now all that group is kind of coming through. So now, the high schools got a lot of kids, and elementary's kind of
And I can slide this around too, so you can see our current ones, but
it's not as robust.
it's not, right? And so, for me, this is what I constantly have to look at. It's like, okay, where's our trend? Well, our trend in the last 8 years is about 11 less kids every year. Well, if you take 11 times 9,200 or even 10,000 for easy numbers, or 9,000, a fair amount of money. And it's a teacher and a para every year that we should probably cut. Well, we don't always do it, depending on where those numbers fall, right? And so this is just, and I should also state, these numbers are done in October. So that's important. That's our first Mars report for that school year. So here's an example. And I'm sorry, I'm standing in your way and get do-si-do here. Because you can see the last, I'm sorry, I gotta make sure I get the right year. Yeah, 23, so it says 1563. Well, we didn't finish in 16, we didn't finish at 1563, it was at 1551. Okay, and then we're at 1539. Well, now we're at 1512. That's our current number. So these are October numbers. So it's just boom, this is what they were in October. Some years they might go up, some years they might go down. In our audit last year, if you recall, on our audit, it said 1570. Well, I don't remember ever seeing 1570. I saw 1563 and boom, and then it went down and we finished here at 1551. So this is all tied to school funding, right? So here it goes, and it's a yo-yo a little bit, but it comes out an average, and the state doesn't just say, "Oh, nope, no, we take it back." No, so it's all figured out in a 13-page formula. But just so you have an idea, it fluctuates. Obviously, we have transient people in our district. So
are we losing more like district kids or more the open enrollment type of kids?
well, perfect segue. And now I touched the screen, so I gotta touch it. I think again to get to move. So all this slide is just to say, what are we trying to do? We're trying to attract them. So I'll get to that, Troy, in just a second. So it's a good point. So we've added an FFA, right? We have an alternative learning plan. That's our ALP that we talked about before. It's trying to keep those kids, right? We started Rebel Kids Care to keep them young. If we can get them young, they'll stay here as we go, So we're trying to do these things to keep them here, to attract them here, to keep our enrollment more stable. And this is what I talked about briefly, but last year we finished, the audit said 1570, but we finished at 1551. This year, our biggest deal right now, currently we're at 1512. We have 93 students in kindergarten. Last year we finished the year with 134 kindergarten. This year's first grade, 119. So we lost 15 of these kindergartners to first grade. What happened? Did they homeschool now? Did they go to a charter school? Did they move out of the community? 4 of them stayed in kindergarten. We held 4 back. But with holding 4 back, that's 93. So we only had 89. Right? So it's, so here's the segue with open enrollment. And I don't have the exact breakdown of all these, But we have 484 students that come to us from outside our district. Great news, right? But unfortunately, we have 227 that live in our district that choose to go somewhere else. Back to the good news, we're still a positive 257. 257 times that rate, that's over $2 million. This district does not have an operating referendum or hasn't. The reason you haven't had to is because you got open enrollment that's positive like that. That's basically your operating referendum right there. Do I wish the 227 stay here too? Yes, obviously, right? The bulk of those, and Brooke, would you say maybe 400 of those at least come from Moorhead? But we lose a fair amount from Moorhead too. So
Do those 227 include homeschool kids?
I don't believe they do.
They're
I don't
moving
think
to other
that's
public
counted as a
schools.
homeschool in that 227. Pretty sure it isn't. They choose to go somewhere else because they're on a Mars, some other public school hasn't. Yep, good question. To my knowledge, it would be no. Yep. We have 50 homeschool students roughly. So there's another issue, yeah.
And then part of that 484, I believe, is that road, I think we talked about that road in Dilworth.
Yes.
Yeah.
The three. that
Yep,
area.
County Highway 9 on the other side of the road, all those Dilworth, they live in the city of Dilworth,
The Weston.
but they're in the Moorhead, yes, but they're in the Moorhead Public School.
But also then in Woodbridge or whatever on the farm.
Same concept.
same
And the
concept.
Clark.
Yep, that land swap, there's one piece of that land swap with Moorhead Public School that still hasn't happened. Brandon and I talked about that again this fall, just thinking, because it's a tax impact that it has to get within 3%, if I remember. I looked at it when I first got here. And they just don't feel it's ever gonna get there, because then it's supposed to automatically transfer. So we're talking about how can we get that to just be done? How can we get that to switch? What's the investment for Moorhead Public Schools? What's the investment for, what can we do to make that done, finish it, I guess?
If we don't think it's gonna make it to 3%, is our district gaining more because of the tax base over there, or are we losing and they're gaining?
Okay, so I haven't looked at it for a long time, Nicole, but when I first got here, I think we were. So that's why
So when we swap, we would be,
we'd have to get something, I would say. And that's kind of from the hip, because I haven't looked at it now for
Sure.
3 years, I guess it would be. But that's my understanding. Yep. Yeah. Well, obviously, the Moorhead's motivator is they can't pass their capital project levy because the people live and they're going to our school. And they're going, well, I'm not going to vote for that. Why would I vote for that? And so he's saying, we got to, come on, can we come up with something? And I get that. And then on the other hand, we need to get something too. So negotiate, right? This, guys, you saw, this is our budget from the audit. So it's, trending in a good spot. And we talked about that before. So this is just to show you, but it has a direct impact from enrollment. The other thing that I did not talk about during the audit, or didn't get into that discussion, is this district had a 10-year tech levy. It ran out. It was my first year here. I had a few other things going on. I'm not sure if you knew that the building project was going on. So it lapsed. It went out. We would have had to renew it. We'd had to go to the voters. We didn't. So there's I think it was $80 a student or something. So a couple $100,000 that we don't get anymore. So that also impacts the budget. So it's something we could consider possibly renewing. This is just to show you where our budget, where the money comes from. 89% of our money comes from the state at some capacity. 8.7% comes from the local. This does not include the bond for the building project. This is just our annual operating budget. 8.7% comes from the local. Obviously, you guys are paying taxes for the building. That's a different animal. That's a different fund. Okay, this is just our annual budget, just so you understand that. And then the feds kick in 2.3. Most of that is USDA food service dollars. A little special ed in there too. Here's where we spend our money. Salaries and benefits, 76%. Supplies, maintenance, and everything else is here. The one thing I need you to understand here is that we have contractors for our buses, right? As Eileen, we know that. So they are not in the salaries and benefits. We want to make sure you understand that. we simplified this just so you can get a general overview. I could break down the pie into about 80 different slices, but in general, so I just want you to know that the bus contractors fit in here under maintenance supplies. We contracted out. They're not in here. Typically, in a district, salaries and benefits come to about 80% of your budget. If we had our own buses, like my previous district, we owned our own buses, we were right at just over 80%. Because we had to pay bus drivers, we had to do that, right? So, and then capital is 3%. So that's the big stuff, right? That's how we compare. You can obviously see these districts have an operating referendum. Most of these, Thief River, I put this because Thief River didn't pass 2 years ago. They passed theirs last year for $900 per student. So they're going to jump from here to right between Park Rapids and Pelican. They're going to be up here at 10-3. The others don't. They're kind of like us. They have open enrollment. It's been positive for the most part. But it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter to do it. But it's not everybody. I just want to give you a little bit of, hey, these are the teams we play. These are teams in our region, our schools in our region, I should say. So it's just to give you that perspective. This is our formula allowance. I'm probably taking too long, so I apologize. When we get into this, this is our current. So this is the other thing that's very important for you as board members to know. Is our current number is 7281. So that's what we get from the basic formula from the state of Minnesota per student. I showed you in a previous slide, it's 9223. That's other sparsity aids and this and that's that add up to about another 2,000 for us. Okay. The LOR is in that 92. So our LOR is at 724. That's included in that 9223. That's not here. So when the state says, hey, we're going to give you 4% increase, that 4% increase is on that number, which is 62% of our budget. 38% of our budget over the last 2 years, we got 3.8%, so less than 2.
3.8% over 2 years.
Over 2 years. Yeah. Because of our enrollment, I don't know if you know this, but I've been really pushing numbers lately. Over the last 2 years, instead of us getting 6%, because of our decline in enrollment, we actually got 5.4% over the 2 years in our general formula because of the lack of it. And I'll show you one more thing on that. So this is just showing if there was inflation over the same time period. You can see in 2003 is when it started, it was the same because here we are. Inflation, we should be getting 86.45 a kid. Obviously, we're not. Property tax. So this is just to show you, this is what school districts have done with their taxpayers. This is what the counties and cities have done. We talked about this before. We have to go to our public for voting. Counties and cities don't. They just say, hey, an increase. Sorry, it's just the cost of living. So you can look at their number, really close to the inflated rate. If you go back to this slide, 86.45. What's theirs at 91.49? And here we are at 39.91 as opposed to 72. It's just, it is what it is. I think I showed you this before. This is our value, so I don't have to get into that. Unfortunately, we've got DGF. We're not talked about. Lakes Country, Iron Range, Minneapolis, Pipeline. That's pretty much the state of Minnesota and why people have value. And this is not a great spot for that, but this is our year-end fund balances, which you guys have seen before. The one thing on this slide that I really want to point out, because this is real, is that number right there. Last year, so I'm going to show you the budget. Last year's budget, our final revenue was $515,195. This year's is $166,000 more. Our teacher raises were $217,000. We have non-certified raises. We have admin raises. I'm just telling you to give you a perspective. That's the money we got extra this year from the state. Why? Enrollment is down. 39 kids. So we're not just sitting here doing nothing. We've joined a special ed co-op that's going to be our MA billing, we know is already going to project it at over $100,000 increase in funding. We're writing an access grant that's due this next week. It's going to be worth $300,000 is basically what we're looking at to pay for a bunch of other things. You guys know the LOR and the other stuff that we submitted to MSBA, so we're talking with legislators constantly. I'm constantly talking with those regional superintendents. It just had a House File 6 is a current bill. I don't know, the House just heard from the from the courts that now that vote will happen in March, so it's not going to happen now. So now they're talking, the Democrats aren't going to show up in the House until March. They have to have a final budget by May 19th. Not sure how that's going to work. They got to sit down at the table. The Republicans, the Democrats have to figure out a plan because nothing's going to happen. So they said all the work that's been done so far in the House might have to just be scrapped and start over. House File 6 is a big deal for us. I think I shared it with you guys in my weekly update too, that this is somewhere working. Can we do some internal board resolutions to shift some dollars around internally? And that's what House File 6, it's Article 3 of House File 6. That's what it talks about. Did I share that with you? I think I did, didn't I? Yeah. Anyway, that was a hot topic at Lakes Country too with superintendents. You guys know our other fund balances are in a good place. That's, oh yeah, I touched that thing, sorry. This is not fun stuff. This is just what everybody else is looking in our state of Minnesota. That's a video. They interviewed him in the talk to superintendent. Star Tribune has an article. These are schools, and there's a bunch more that are making significant budget cuts. These are the failed referendums. They're almost all outstate Minnesota, and operating referendums or capital project levies failed. Well, they passed at less than 30% rate. In the metro, it was around 50%. And that comes back to property value, right? We talked about that before. So, ooh, exciting. So, when we get into the budget, oh, I should go back. Sorry. When we get into the budget, our budget at the beginning of the year was going to be at 310. Can't remember exactly. I apologize. What we said at the original deficit. That was going to be about a zero balance. We were going to have a balanced budget if our enrollment stayed the same. When the enrollment did not stay the same, that's kind of where our deficit is. So when you look at our final budget, you will see that it's basically 100% tied to enrollment, unfortunately. So if we have questions when we get to that, you can. Lakes Country, I think I've already kind of talked about what we talked about down there. We're also talking about paying student teachers. I'm not sure where that's going to come from, so that was a good discussion. Construction concerns. You may or may not have known that we had quite an interesting couple of weeks in the Fort Gym. We had glycol spraying all over the gym floor. If you want to go for a tour after the meetings tonight, in the middle of the floor, we almost had to cancel games Friday night and Saturday night because the floor was all ripply from the moisture of the glycol. It was fixed the Thursday before, so now I'm losing my weeks. 2 weeks ago, Thursday, when we were down in MSBA. They came in and fixed it the next day. The next week, a different spot. And I have a video. It sounds like you're at a spa. It's raining down from the ceiling. Anyway, they came up and fixed that. And so far, that's been holding. We also have a pipe in the middle of the brand new science room that is backing up into our kitchen. We finally now put a camera. It's 8 feet under the concrete floor. And so you may have to be digging that up this summer. Oh, yeah, that's going on.
So the sewage backing up to the kitchen, is that causing any sort of hazard concerns with meal prep?
Yep, no, it hasn't because we caught it when it was starting and then it hasn't. And now we've been watching it to make sure we're flushing out before it gets that way. So, yep.
Is our, I've noticed as I've walked through this building that a lot of the floor is like taped.
Yep.
So is that under some sort of warranty? Because I feel like it's pretty new to be.
Yep, that's already been replaced twice. And it's a glue issue with the tunnels and the heat of the tunnels that the architects didn't bring into play. So the heat of the pipes running in the tunnels heats up the glue and it oozes us out. We've had multiple discussions, and as you guys know, we're in communication with our architect and working through some of that, which is definitely on it. The reason for the black beautiful tape is they put it down. Chase is tired of cleaning up this gooey stuff in every room. So it's still oozing out, but they're trying to put the tape to eliminate it from getting on everybody's tennis shoes and
I'm
spread
sure
throughout
parents
the room.
appreciate that too. I mean, you don't want to
Yeah,
come home,
right. It's just,
or for someone to trip on a corner or whatever.
yeah. So it was replaced when Mako took over. They did take it all up and put a lot less glue. It just doesn't cure. And so it's still working its way to the edge, and then it starts to come up. So, yeah,
Neat.
super neat. That's a good way to say it. Super neat. High school travel waiver. Remember we talked about this? It was supposed to be up before. It did get sent out. I asked Joe today, kind of what's the percentage. He thinks we're at about a 90% return on.
How about, the procedure for people leaving and coming back? Do we have some sort of check-in, check-out
Yeah,
process?
no, nothing yet. Remember, we did check with area schools too, and they don't either. That's something it's gonna have to be a summer or something, kind of like, what are some options here to be efficient so they can actually get out, if that's what we decide, or do we just say, okay, we're not, or, it's a good, nothing at this time. I had the Deputy Commissioner, Angela Mansfield, will be here this Thursday. They're coming from the east, so they're gonna stop at this site. She said they'll just stop at the middle school, high school. I said, okay. And this is just for them. They want to go around to see all the schools. They were supposed to be here in November, if you remember. I did make the announcement, didn't they cancel because they had something that came up. So they're coming this Thursday, 1:30 to 2:30, they'll be here. Just a reminder, I have the IGR this Friday. That's the Intergovernmental Retreat at Lake County Courthouse. And I present in the afternoon all the wonderful things that are happening at PGF Public School. The last thing I had was, you guys all got a calendar. We are September. I did make kind of a joke that I told my wife I'd never end up in a calendar, but I did. September. Anyway, it's the food service and it's our farm to school and food and nutrition. So I'm one of many in that photo off to the right. So just a great deal on that. Shannon got it. Many questions, so she'll be presenting. Do you remember when? Is it March? May? Yeah, I can't remember. Anyway, it just came through this week. So, yeah, so kind of a neat deal. Another way we've been recognized, and I have talked with you all.
Any questions for Shannon? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to 7.1. This is to approve the regular meeting minutes of January 13th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Motion by Britton. Do I have a second? Second by Troy. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. On to number 8, consent agenda. This is to approve the bills for January 2025 in the amount of
$237,087.53.
all right, thank you. Your treasurer's monthly budget report is part of the packet. Fundraisers, approve the fundraisers as presented, also as part of the packet. And then to approve the resignation of Wanda Walseth, speech language pathologist, effective the end of the 2024-2025 school year. And then also to approve the resignation of Angie Miller, paraprofessional, effective February 7th, 2025. And last is to approve the extracurricular coaches advisors as presented, also. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Nicole. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Brittany. Any questions or discussion?
I do have one thing. So if you look at our monthly budget, as of 1/23/2025, you look at our preliminary budget at 20,273,000. So see that, and we're at 45% or 45.57%. The one thing I did, so we're going to finalize a budget today, and that budget number is different. And so I wanted to tell you that our budget number, and you'll see it, you probably, yeah, you have the other one too. It's actually 20,075,615. So our percentage will be 46.02. So we're about 0.5% higher as of today. Or as of, well, I better say of 123, because that's when he ran the numbers. Does that make sense? So our expenses year to date as of 123 are still the same number, but now our budget number is smaller. It's not the 2 million. Are you with me? Am I making sense? Okay.
Yep.
So I just want you to understand, and that will be reflected in our next board meeting, because you guys will approve this, but we'll have discussion about the budget shortly.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure you guys know that.
All right, I have a question on the fundraising. So I know I asked you this last time too, I think, but so we're gonna get these numbers shored up. So like right now I see that the 2 basketball split the pots were not confirmed. It looks like they're getting approved this time around. So because they've still been doing those. So next year we're gonna have those
I have it.
ahead of time,
Yep,
right?
Yep, because that's one member, I didn't have this at our admin meeting, so I didn't have to
Yep.
look at it, and then we brought it to a board meeting, and I'm like, okay, it's something we had done in the past, so basically, yeah. Nope. that's
And then
good.
I did see that we had posted the Gifts from the Heart last week. That was caught. But in the event, I got a good email from Mrs. Randall, who's running it.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd share a little bit
Sure.
about that.
Yeah, perfect.
She said, when the middle school relocated, their art supplies went with them, leaving us at the elementary with a large art room but no materials. Our goal is to raise funds for essential items such as drying racks, easels, paintbrushes, and other non-consumable supplies. This will allow our staff to check out the art room and teach engaging art lessons. I want to assure you that every child will have the opportunity to participate in this initiative. Because one of my questions was, if it's only kids who can buy tickets, what about the kids who really could benefit from this initiative that maybe can't bring the funds to do that?
Mhm.
So she did say that there would be good behavior tickets that would be handed out through the week for those just demonstrating the Rebel Way behavior. And then teachers can distribute those as they see fit, because they want to foster relationship building throughout our school community. So the funds we do raise will greatly support both students and staff, enhancing our overall educational environment. So since I've seen a little bit ahead of that, and I wanted to share that with
Yeah.
you guys on that piece.
Yeah, and I was at the staff meeting, they talked about it more, because it's the first time they're doing it. It's just kind of it's something that it's either a sister or sister-in-law that does it in another school, and they've had success, and they're talking about it. So I said, well, you can always bring it up, and the board's gonna see it, and we'll go from there, but I just said, as far as I'm concerned, what I saw, Ashley, I said it looks good. So.
One question I do have might be for Wayne. I thought a long time ago before we had actually moved the elementaries together, knowing that we had the art room and things, I thought we had discussion about bringing in an art teacher to help support staff. Did I make that up in my brain somewhere?
It was a goal.
Is that, okay, so that was a discussion. Once I got that email from Ashley, then it started like rolling things around. So we just don't have, I'm assuming with our funding, we just don't have the funds for that.
I guess if
Still on the
Wayne would have
radar?
asked me, I'd probably no right now, but yeah. Yeah. And I don't remember, it was probably before my time possibly. Okay, yeah.
So on this one, when it says funds to be used for going back to the staff and students, it's really going to the art room supplies. I mean,
That's how it was presented to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion?
My only question, excuse me, only question is, good Lord, is the coaching staff, this is preset their suggestions for next year when over half these sports haven't even happened yet, for recommendations for the following year. So how do we give a good evaluation for a sport that hasn't happened for next year?
Yeah, great question. Mike, I think we had some discussions earlier too.
Yeah.
So as we look at this list, just know that Katie does an evaluation after every season. That's how they get their final check. That's how they get paid. And they have to go through their list with her, and she signs off on it that it's, and if you guys ever want to visit with her about, you're not going to see the actual evaluation, but she can talk about what she did and why she chose to renew their contract. Or if there were concerns, she can talk about that. Yeah, so it's yeah, it's that time of year. It's what we always have done. Doesn't mean it's right to Micah's point, but just know that they do go through an evaluation process with her. And if you had questions, Katie, she can show you the form that we use. And then how the head coaches do the assistant coaches in that evaluation form. So if you want to take a look at that, she has all that information for you.
Well, the review, I don't have an issue there. I'm just, so not to pick on anything, it's just for conversations. If we have a new track coach this year, or you're approving that person for the following year when we haven't even seen how it's happened for the first year.
No, this is for 24-25. So this is for this year, not for next year. So that track coach is being approved here. Next year, you'll have a chance to whether we approve them or not.
Okay.
Does that make, yeah. So
Okay, so
this is our coaching staff for this
I'm off
winter.
the season-ish.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, this is for this year's coaches. Yeah.
Okay. So then my only other suggestion would be if use track for an example, not to pick on it.
Yep. No, that's fine.
So if this wasn't approved, is this enough time to find a track person versus doing it earlier in a season for that specific sport coming around the corner?
Yep. So I would say as a board member, when you see this, let's say, for example, when you got this board packet a week ago and you had a concern about somebody, I would hope you would have brought it to me at that point. And then we would have talked to Katie, we'd have had a discussion, so it wouldn't have happened in this public meeting, and we could have had, hey, here's our concerns, maybe met, maybe discussed it, maybe made a change, whatever needed to happen, right? So I guess that's what I'd ask, when you guys get information on a board packet and you have a question, I would hope that you would ask us before we come to this meeting, so we can hopefully knock it out. Doesn't mean stuff isn't gonna happen, I don't wanna, you know what I mean, you need to be you too, but I hope that we have that discussion before. Yeah, just to be respectful for the people and.
It wasn't to pick on anything. it's
No,
just
I appreciate that.
Any other questions or
So then-
discussions?
Kind of follow up, like, so like the, and I'm not, again, I don't want to pick on anybody either, but it's like the football aspect, are we approving it for last year or for this next?
Yeah,
this next
so
year?
you'll see them again.
Oh,
So, yeah, this is what we have this year. These people have been evaluated, just so you know. And then if we have any questions, so let's say, you look at this list and you go, well, the junior high 7th grade football coach, I've got concerns or whatever. Let's have that discussion. There's a part of the evaluation. So then I would say in the junior high level, and I'm just going to shoot from hip, there's probably 4 to 5 or 6 different coaches that change on an annual basis just because life changes. It's less teams, more teams. So, but if you ever have concerns, I mean, that's what Katie's job is. She's here to answer concerns from whoever, right?
I think the timing is just odd. I think that's where, I don't think we're talking about like people in general, the timing just feels interesting.
Could we not? I think we did
We,
approve
yes,
coaches
we,
earlier in
we
the
do
year.
it 3 times a year.
It's done per season.
Yeah.
Oh,
season,
I
so-
understand. Thank
Just-
you.
Yeah, that's probably worth
Thank you.
explaining.
There's more than one time.
Just logistically, something I noticed too, golf is the only one that the boys and girls are all pushed together, like softball has their own section, baseball has their own section. I mean, everything else is, boys basketball
I see
is
what you mean. Yeah,
girls basketball, boys basketball, but we've got head boys coach, head girls coach. for
all in
golf,
one
All
spot.
in one section, and they're not separated out between boys and girls. It seems kind of
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah, I was gonna say cross country is a little bit, but that's all one group. Boys
Yeah,
and
that's
girls
one-
are
one
together,
coach,
so,
yeah.
yeah. But, yeah,
Just when you brought it up, I looked down, I was like, well, that's weird.
yeah, they should have their own, yeah.
Not that it really matters.
Nope, just from a visual standpoint.
I think, as we approve this too, we start thinking about the fishing, we should probably reconsider that.
Mhm.
I'm just- not to pick on anybody, but no, just kidding.
Any other questions or discussions on consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go on to another, number 9.1. This is to approve the 2025 committee representatives as presented. And this should be a part of your board packet. The only change, this was sent out earlier, and the only change was Nicole was added to the district leadership team, and Brittany was put on the Lake County Joint Powers. So that was the only change. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Micah. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Troy. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to 9.2. This is to approve the week of January 20th, 20 through 26, 2025 as DGF paraprofessional recognition. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, motion by Nicole, second by Brittany. And I'll just read the proclamation. Yeah. Whereas Minnesota is home to more than 20,000 paraprofessionals who provide multiple services in our schools that are integral to the success of students and teachers. And whereas paraprofessionals take on a wide range of responsibilities to meet the unique needs of students in their care, their dedication supports safe, effective, and engaging learning environments throughout Minnesota. And whereas Minnesota's Department of Education is committed to excellence in education and recognizes the important role that paraprofessionals play in ensuring success in our schools. And whereas Minnesota celebrates the essential contribution of paraprofessionals during paraprofessional recognition. All right. Any questions or discussion?
Just thank you to all of our paraprofessionals and support staff for all that they do for our teachers and students. Remarkable.
It can be a challenging job for sure. Much appreciated. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to 9.3. This is a motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 final budget. And this is also in your packet. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Micah. Second it?
Sure.
Second by Nicole. Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, again, you see that 387, with 39 less students, that comes to 300, I just did the math again, that's $359,697, just on enrollment. So when we set the budget, we always are super conservative, and we started our budget this year with using 1525 as our number, thinking we had a big buffer there, a couple 100,000. Then when our enrollment came in and we were just above it, now we shrunk and then we shrunk and we've had to readjust it 3-4 different times. Now we're running in numbers at 1,500 because we're at 1,512. So it's just been,
Yeah, a little bit lower than we had hoped.
so we're going to continue. Marcus and I are talking about how we're going to free stuff here going forward to finish out the year, and so we can make it smaller than this impact. Less impact, sorry.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to 9.4, this is to approve a certified contract for Robert Strand Business Teacher VA Step 1 effective January 20th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Micah. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Angela. Any questions or discussion?
I just want everybody to know this was Roger Safransky. Came back this fall so Robbie can do his student teaching. So we had already had Robbie as kind of part of our basketball coaching staff, and gave him a chance. And then Roger, halfway through that, said, "You guys are going to be good. He's going to be okay. You should hire him." And then Roger then officially retired. Roger retired after last year, but came back to help us with this transition, which was huge. So special thank you to Roger.
Yeah, thank you to Roger for it, and good luck in his retirement.
Yeah. Yep. And welcome, Robbie. Yeah.
So Roger's done then, right?
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, we had a short-term, 1 semester contract with him.
Adding himself to other coaching positions too, so that's, I'm sure makes Katie happy.
Yes, very much so.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to 9.5, this is to approve the first reading of the fiscal year 2026 school calendar. Do I have a motion? Motion by Nicole. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Micah. Any questions or discussion?
What is the first day of school here? I'm struggling with the colors.
The second.
The second.
Yep, September 2nd. September 1st is going to be Labor Day weekend, or Labor Day, I should say. The reason those are in pink because kindergarten comes in and does their roundup, so it's, yeah,
They
pretty
do one-on-one meetings.
before they start.
And the last day is May 27th.
It is, yep, May 27th, and then the workshop is the 28th. It's really tight, as you can see. If we want to be after Labor Day and before Memorial, which we couldn't be before Memorial in order to get the days in, so. Yeah, it's a, tight calendar.
Any other questions or discussion?
And we're gonna stick with the e-learning days after the thrift storm days happen.
Yes.
Hopefully we don't.
Yeah.
Desire is to not.
Yeah, so far we've been fortunate,
Yeah.
and it's been some tough morning decisions sometimes, but we've made it, so far it's good.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to 9.6. This is to approve the administrative contract for Aaron Schindler, Transportation Director, effective July 1st, 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Micah. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Brittany. Any questions or discussion?
Just so you know too, I think I should, well, I know I shared this with you, that the official contract starts July 1 of 2025. Obviously, we want him to work with Eileen, especially in transportation. He has experience as an activities director, but not as a transportation director. So it's, I believe you guys saw that there's an hourly rate for him to work with Eileen, and then I'll approve those hours when he's going to do it. So we can have a smooth transition, and I've said this about 15 times, but it's important to say it one 16th time, and that is, I want Eileen to be able to retire, and so we have to call her every day for help. And that's why Aaron spending some time with her is not only going to help us, but hopefully then Eileen.
So will that happen then during the school year?
Yeah,
this year?
so it's, so some of the discussions Aaron and I have had is maybe he comes here at 6 a.m., works till 8 with Eileen, and goes to work, right? Maybe he comes here in the evening. Maybe he works a Saturday. I don't know. I mean, we haven't set any schedule up. We wanted to wait till tonight and get an approval, and then, okay, we should start working on what that might look like. Obviously, he's under contract, and he needs to fulfill that. He has some days, he said, he could give, so I just, him and Eileen have each other's cell phone numbers, so they're gonna try to work out what might work best, and then I'll approve what those hours might be, just to help with the transition, so, yeah.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to 9.7. This is to approve the donations as presented. And this is a resolution that we have to read. So just a word to the public is donations have to be approved by resolution, which you'll find in the actual resolution. So I'll read it first before we get a motion. Whereas Minnesota Statutes 123B02 Subdivision 6 provides that the board may receive for the benefit of the district bequests, donations, or gifts for any proper purpose and apply the same to the purpose designated. In that behalf, the board may act as trustee of any trust created for the benefit of the district or for the benefit of pupils thereof, including trusts created to provide people to the district with advanced education after completion of high school and the advancement of education. And whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 provides any city, county, school district, or town may accept a grant or devise of real or personal property and maintain such property for the benefit of its citizens in accordance with the terms prescribed by the donor, nothing herein shall authorize such acceptance or use for religious or sectarian purposes. And whereas every such acceptance shall be by resolution of the governing body adopted by a 2/3 majority of its members expressing such terms in full, therefore be it resolved that the school board of Dilworth Glen Felton Public Schools, Independent School District 2164, gratefully accepts the following donations as identified below from CI Sport of golf towels for the DGF Boys Golf, from Betty Benson of Baby Grand Piano. Say this again, Baby Grand Player Piano for the music department, from St. Cloud Technical and Community College in the amount of $1,000 for the robotics club. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Brittany. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Troy. Any questions or discussion?
Thank you to all those who
Yeah,
donated.
amen.
Yes. Very generous. Because it is a resolution, we have to do a roll call. So I'll call on each board member and And say yay or nay. All right.
Yay.
Nicole?
Aye.
David, aye. Brittany?
Aye.
Micah?
Aye.
Angela?
Aye.
All right. The resolution passes. All right, 10.1, the next board meeting will be Monday, February 10th, 2025, 6 p.m. at the Glendon Media Center, same location we are tonight. And then 10.2, the Facilities and Transportation Committee meeting will follow that board meeting. On to 11, this is a motion to approve the adjournment of the regular meeting of the DGF School Board. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Nicole, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Brittany. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
I do have a question.